Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. So in case you're wondering, yes, I'm recording two videos and posting two videos today. Some of you have already probably watched the one I posted earlier this morning on this election fiasco and is there something else going on? Today, or right now, I want to talk about something completely different, switch gears. And I normally don't post two videos a day, but there is just so much going on right now that I have this desire to inform you. And some of you may already know this stuff. But as always, when I make these videos, there's always a lot of people that are not informed about this. They're not aware of it. And so as I find stuff and I'm like, see, this is why we need to get prepared. This is what's heading our way. I want to bring it to you. And so, yes, this video, we're switching gears and we're not really going to talk about the election, although always keep in mind that that stuff is connected to this. You know, there's motive behind everything, and it's kind of like looking at a puzzle spread out on a table. All the pieces, they all fit together. They all are part of it and mean something. And I think that's what everything that's happening between the virus and the riots and on, election, it's all connected. Before we get started, I want to encourage you and ask you to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below and the bell off to the side. That way you get notifications of when I upload a video, because as I've talked on here and many other YouTubers lately have talked, YouTube is going out of its way to suppress these videos. They're just not being seen. I can show you all kinds of charts where they're just dropping right off the edge of the cliff. So make sure you subscribe and click the little bell so that you can be notified and stay on top of what's going on while you're at it. And this is the last thing I'm going to say before I get started, because I know you all hate my long intros. You guys need to get stocked up on stuff. You really do. And even if you've been prepping and stocking and storing food, you need to keep doing it. And do it however you can. Bags of rice, what cans food, dried food, whatever you can. I also want to offer you a deal that you can get through me and through My Patriot Supply. It wouldn't be the only thing I would advise you to stock up on, but it doesn't hurt to have this stuff. This stuff is long-term food storage, 25 to 30-year life. It's freeze-dried, sealed up, really high-quality stuff, good flavored stuff. And the price per calorie or dollar per calorie is about the lowest in the industry. And you can go to preparewithtravis.com where you can get $100 off a 4-week bucket of food. It's a pretty good deal. All right. There's a lot of people asking, and I've seen it online in some of the areas that I look into and travel on the internet. As well as my wife, she's commented the same thing, talking to me. There are some people that are kind of new to the whole prepping thing, new to waking up that there is more stuff that going on than what meets the eye. And they're like, well, wait a minute, everyone was talking about all this, civil war and violence on election night, and it didn't happen, so what's the big deal now? It's kind of over. Yeah, we still don't really kind of know who's president, but it's probably Biden, because that's what the media tells us, right? And I mean, they wouldn't lie to us. So it's not a big deal. What are we still all hyped up about, getting yourselves prepared? What are we really preparing for? Isn't it all over? No, it's not. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's been going on for decades. And why, with a lot of people that have been following this stuff for decades, is expressing their concern right now, this year, is because for the last several decades, all of this stuff seems to converge on the year 2020 and 2021. Some may ask why. Why is that? Why is 2020, 2021 so significant? Why is it all happening right now? I will get into some of that, and even though I may not have the exact answer, I'm going to try to answer it as best as I know how, as to my knowledge. But there are lots of things happening, and right now, for the last week, everyone's been focused on this election, And you know what? There's things that it's just been slipping through the hands of everyone. Like there's been 750,000 new cases in the United States in the last 7 days of the health crisis. Over 6,000 people died because of it. Um, Most of Europe is starting on some serious lockdowns. So the odds of seeing that here, I think, are pretty good. And I don't want to hear this thing of like, well, if Biden gets, officially the president, it's all going to go away. No, that I don't buy that at all. It's too good there to use that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But what about 2020, 2021? Why is that? Well, without going into great detail, because boy, it would take hours to explain it to everyone. There have been an effort globally by global leaders for decades to have a plan to unite and change the world as we know it. And they have that plan set to start, for the most part, in 2020 and probably go through to about the year 2050. There's organization, not organizations, but there's plans like Agenda 21. It's a sustainable development plan that was made public back in the 90s. A lot of people believe they had started developing this plan back in the 60s. There's Agenda 2030, which is a plan that most of Agenda 21. Agenda 21 is for the 21st century. Agenda 2030 is to have this stuff for the most part in place by 2030, and then 2050, Agenda 2050, is to basically be in a whole new world by 2050. And a lot of people may ask, well, why? What is it about these dates? And here we are, we're living in them. What is it about these dates? Well, it's hard to say, but one can speculate when you look at other things, like, say, the grand solar minimum. If you look at this chart of grand solar minimum, the sun goes through a 400-year cycle. Okay, it's just as regular as clockwork. Every 400 years, it goes through what's called a grand solar minimum, which is reduced solar sunspot activity, and it kind of cools down a little bit, and it creates some kind of havoc for our weather here on this planet. And 2020, this year, started the drop off into the next grand solar minimum. And if you look on this chart, by 2050, things are pretty much going to be flatlined. And if you look at how that is going to affect us globally when it comes to food supplies, crops, it is greatly going to affect it, okay? So is all of this Agenda 21, 2030, 2050, is it to get the world ready for this grand solar minimum? That's quite possibly it, but there's a lot more. We have the Great Reset, which is from the World Economic Forum, and it's kind of like Agenda 21 all wrapped up into nice, cuddly, happy little package. The World Economic Forum has been pushing Agenda 21 and 2030 and 2050 for years now. This stuff it's not as nice and wonderful as you think, and it's not a conspiracy theory. I talked just a few days ago, I think it was last week, about Time Magazine cover. Have you all seen that, of the Great Reset? Well, the article that goes along with this, it's talking about where we hope to be by 2023. All right, 2023, and it talks about all the stuff that's happened in 2020. They're hoping that Joe Biden gets elected and that we can start making these radical changes to our environment and our economy so that it's nice and good for everyone, and it's all sustainable, and it's all equal for everyone, so we can, fairly disperse wealth and property and blah, 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 blah. It's all right there in the Time Magazine article, okay? Not a conspiracy, folks. I find it interesting that the 2023 date in the Time Magazine article lines up perfectly with the new movie coming out, Songbird. If you haven't watched the trailer, you need to see that trailer, where it talks about COVID-23 and how it's changing everything and taking away all our rights. It's kind of interesting how all these dates line up. And for those of you that really are kind of just now getting into this, these people that control things, that wish to control things, that rule the world, dates, numbers, it's all quite significant. Most of it is not meaningless. preparedness. It all carries meaning behind it. Um, but look at some of the stuff that they're planning. And we've talked about the Great Reset before, but there's some technology that it's right on the verge of being unveiled. We have this DNA technology, Common Pass, where they will be able to basically like a thumbprint scan, except it's scanning your DNA sequence, and which will connect to your digital ID, all part of the Rockefeller ID 2020. Again, ID 2020, another similar date. This is not conspiracy theory stuff. This is totally legitimate. It creates a biometric identification for every human on the planet. They're able to connect that to your digital currency, which is part of the Great Reset, is to unveil a new global digital currency, and this Common Pass here is part of what's going to kind of connect with it. And it talks about this on their website that they're hoping to have this up and running by the end of 2021. So we're talking like a year from now or less, that they'll be able to just scan your finger, and it's not necessarily scanning your thumbprint, it's scanning your DNA that will be connected to your digital currency. Everything will be on blockchain. If you don't know what blockchain is, start doing some research on that. It's basically putting your information in a public secured way. But the problem is, if you look at on the financial end of it especially, what they're talking about, the blockchain that they're wanting to use and how they're wanting to develop it, they will control it. The Federal Reserve will control it, meaning that once your money is now digital and it's on this system, they will be able to control what you spend your money on, where you spend your money, monitor it all. Okay, no, Bob doesn't, he's hit his ammo allowance for the month, so we're cutting him off. Oh, you've already bought enough toilet paper for the month. Your family only gets so much toilet paper, and you're not can't buy anymore. So when you go to buy toilet paper, it says, sorry, you can't buy that toilet paper. That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. When you add all of this to little comments like AOC saying how they want to put everyone that's supported Trump, all these conservatives, gun-toting conservatives on this list, so that they can just basically blacklist them. When you add that to all this new technology, it starts to become pretty apparent what their motive is there. This absolute control of everything. And we're seeing that with the food supply system. We're seeing that with the financial systems of currencies, digital currencies, controlling the money that you have, controlling your bank account. Going back to why 2020 and 2021, there's something else that goes along with that. And I'm not going to get deep into it because I'll admit I don't even understand it all because it's way above my head. But the system that central banks use to transfer money back and forth between them and to loan money to each other at night after hours is very antiquated according to them. And they're wanting to switch it all to more of a blockchain instant system. We're talking a system that would trade money in the way information is moved around online almost instantly. And so there is this plan to have this switch to this new system and move, hundreds of trillions of dollars globally into this new system at the end of January of 2021, just days after the inauguration. And this is a major shift for them. It's not going to affect necessarily your money. It's going to affect the money that they move around, and it's going to basically turn it all to digital money, which it already is, but we're talking more modern a way of doing this. And the concern is, if you dig into it, is that because we're talking about such a massive shift of how they move money around and new computer systems, new currency systems for them to move money, that there could be some hiccups for a few days. We're talking about the potential of stock markets being shut down for a couple of days, and access to banking may be shut down for a couple of days, right around the time of the inauguration. And some of the whispers out there is that, well, what better way to create a kind of a smokescreen for this shifting to a new banking system for central banks than by creating some chaos with a inauguration, and then this happens. I don't know. I mean, this is just talk and speculation, but this new currency system, digital currency transfer system that they are doing, that's not just talk. That's serious. You can find it all over on these internet sites for banking, central banks, the Bank of London, the Federal Reserve. They are all talking about it. That's just more to all of this. And then if you want to go off into the real deep conspiracies of like, well, really, why is all this happening? I mean, you could look at things like December 21st, 2020 is the end of the age of Pisces and the beginning of the age of Aquarius. I'm not into all that kind of stuff, so don't get me wrong. But there is a belief that a lot of the people that are kind of the globalist, rule the world, controlling banks, controlling everything, this kind of cabal, whatever you want to call them, Illuminati elites, that they tend to follow a different type of beliefs. One that a lot of people believes is more satanic. And if you look into what those beliefs are, they believe that January 21st, 2020 is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and that is the age that Jesus dies and Lucifer now reigns, and that it is their time. Not saying that's what I believe, but if it is true that that's what they believe, that would also be one more piece of the puzzle of why they're so concerned with this year and next year being a great shift and reset of humanity. And then there's a few other things. By 2024, astronomers are saying that we will be in a once in 2,000 year planetary cycle that will place the planet Earth just about in the middle of all the other planets, and could very well cause some havoc here. It could mess up magnetic poles. It could mess up and cause geomagnetic disruptions, earthquakes, volcanoes, things like that. There's also a 4,000-year cycle. I was reading a couple of days ago, watched a few videos on it, a 4,000-year cycle of monsoons in the Sahara Desert, North African continent region. Most of you might know this, that at once upon a time they believed that whole desert region was a thriving jungle or lush green area. And they believe that we're now back into that cycle. There's been a lot of flooding rains in that area. And if that is true, and we're looking at that area now once becoming a lush, fertile region, that would play a major shift in agriculture. With America and North and South America kind of being the breadbasket of the planet when it comes to agriculture, and now that whole region of North Africa, because it's much larger. I mean, there's almost twice as much land there as there is the entire United States. If that happens, that's another thing. I mean, it's just on and on and on. And I know some of you are thinking, wow, he's getting off into some really crazy tinfoil hat conspiracies. Whew. Well, I'm not saying it's all true, but what I am saying, if you look at all these things, add them all together, I think it does create a scenario where 2020 and 2021 is quite significant with a lot of things. And so in the end, even though some of it may not be true, we know that at least some is, and I think it's worth getting ourselves prepared. So if you're in that boat of like, well, we're a few days after the election and the world hasn't ended, so go back to normal, life as we know it, just keep going on. There's too many things happening. That's what they want you to know. That's what they want you to think. And I believe that there is a true orchestration of chaos that's going on. Like I said in this morning's video, it's like a flashbang grenade. They're trying to throw as much at you as they can, hoping at least something sticks and disrupts you and throws you off, and you're focused on this, or maybe this, or maybe this, or maybe this, and you're not focused on what's really going on. And that is a vast global shift that's being very well orchestrated to shift our financial systems, to shift monetary systems, agriculture, food supplies, governance, the ones that basically that rule the world. They're shifting and they're taking over, and they're I think their plan that they've had for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 decades, they've decided that this is it, and it's happening. How do we stand against it? I don't know yet. I really don't know. But what I do know is that we have to be aware of it, and we have to, every chance that we can, resist it. So when they come at you with some new technology and say, "Hey, this is how we're going to keep track of your insurance. This is how we're going to make it real easy for you to keep track of your money and to buy things. Just try this out." Then that way you know in your head that, oh, wait a minute, this sounds a lot like this other stuff, so maybe I need to just say, no, 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 that's all right, no thanks. That's why we talk about this, and why we prepare for it. We prepare for a lot of things, not any one particular thing. And if you just keep yourself prepared, um, then no matter what they throw at us, then it's giving you, it's an insurance policy. It's giving you a little chance, a little bit better odds of surviving, which is in the end all prepping is. It's increasing your odds of survival. All right, folks, I think I took this video way too long. Hope I didn't throw too much at you. Hope you don't think I'm too crazy. That's the kind of stuff I talk about over on Patreon. All right, thank you all for watching. Catch you in the next video.